Thank you, Ning Ding. That's really great. Well, great to see so many of you. I'm excited. I'm excited that today we can welcome a very famous entrepreneur from China. It's an honor to welcome Victor Yuan, who is over here. I'll just briefly introduce you a little bit. Dr. Victor Yuan, he is a popular and well-known entrepreneur. And he shared with us that on the Chinese Twitter, he has 3 million followers. So honestly, I hope you can do some marketing for us here by saying that you're here at Hanze University, and then we know that we have 3 million people who can actually read that message. Because the Hanze University has strong ties with China, I think, for quite some years already. And that is, well, of course, we can see we've got quite some Chinese students nowadays here, but also we have partnerships with many, many Chinese universities. And many of our students from the International Business School, from International Communication, they are doing their placement projects and graduation projects for companies in China. So, Mr. Yuan, he is very famous also because he used to be the host of a business talk show called Brainstorming. I think I was supposed to click here, right? So, there you go. There you go. Mr. Yuan also has his own consultancy company called Horizon, and he's conducting research in the field of marketing, and he will say a lot about that. And he gives many, many keynotes all around the world, in Switzerland, in the US, in Germany, and today here in the Netherlands. Because of his leadership, his entrepreneurship, and his successful career, he is an idol for many of the Chinese students and the Chinese people nowadays. And he shared with us today that he is a very productive writer of books, 45 books in total. And here you see the 3 books, The Colorful Youth and Do Much Ado About Nothing in Your Youth. I really liked it. I didn't read the book myself, but I understood that it's really valuable to not go for the result, but go for the experience. And that is something that I value personally very much, specifically when we're talking about entrepreneurship. It's about going for it. May I have warm applause for Mr. Victor Yuan.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to be here. Actually, this is my first time to visit this country, and the Hanze University is the first university in Holland I have visited. So I think it's my honor, and also it's a good opportunity for me to learn something from you. Although today would be a occasion for me to share some of my observation, my experience about the data collection, data interpretation, and data using the situation in China. But I will spend some other days here. We'll talk and discuss with the professors and the students here to understand more about, the experience and our academic or our special angle about how we look at the business community and even look at about the Chinese market. 20 years ago, I was a government official, and I working for the Minister of Justice as a very potential new political talent. But all the time, I write a report for ministers and deputy ministers And interestingly, we're always using a terminology like everybody of the Chinese people agreed that. And I ask my leader and the minister, we even never ask one people. How we know everybody agreed that? And my leader say, we never needed to ask people because we are represent people. Okay. But I know that is not true. And many times when this guy go away, another guy will come and he said, he did something wrong. I will do something right. And I asked him, how do you know you will be right? He said, I know because I represent people. So why I started a business started from the public opinion polling and social research. At that time, I want to ask people, even not too many, because this is a big, large size of a population in China. But I tried to set up a kind of a new mechanism to recruit data people directly and first hand. It is not easy because when I started the job in China, people ask me, as a company is just doing, business. You take something and sell something and you make the profit, but you do research, you do data. Why do that? And simply people don't understand. But in 1992, that is a lucky year because Mr. Deng Xiaoping, he's doing the visit to South China, said China needed to do further reformation. We need to open the door even more, and we need to improve the management and the public administration in many ways. So we need to go further. So that year, my company got allowed to be registered, and also we opened a new era, a new time for data recruiting in China. So although that's only 20 years, but I'm the first pioneer of the independent research and the data collection in China. Well, today I will give you some data. Some data is from the government source. It's like a data like this. GDP grows. Many people know China GDP grows very, very quickly. And every year we have last year, so 7.3% of a growth rate. The year before last year, we have about around 7%. Before that, we're 9%. But nobody knows the data is true or not. Okay, and even the government official, even the Department of State Bureau of Statistics, they don't know it because the data they said we adjusted the data very carefully, very seriously. Finally, we get that data. So they said adjust. They tried to figure out some way to figure out what is really happened there. But it's hard because you ask people, say, this year what's the revenue of your company and what's the tax you pay to the government. Of course, each company have several kind of a system for data. If I report to tax bureau, I would like to report to law. If I report to administration of industry and commerce, I report to high. And if I report to somebody from the People's Congress, I even high. Because if you report high, you get a chance to be a member of a People's Congress. And if you report a law to the tax bureau, then you are pay less tax to government. So we have a strategic data. Okay, you will give the different data depends on the situation. And so you don't know if that is true or not. Nobody knows. Okay, but we do have some data. Somebody give us the data, so we call this data as a reported data. Okay, but how we can improve that? I'm someone optimistic about China, about the economy, commerce, and so many others, even about the government reformation. The Chinese police force are quite a corrupted force before. And if you made some a policeman will stop you, say, you break some transportation law, or you just go through the road, but it's a red light. And if you give a 100 renminbi, you will pass away. But that's a story 12 years ago. Now, it's not the case. I would say on the road, the policeman would be one of the most clean policemen in the world. Why? Because he basically doesn't have the power to do that, because everything was by the camera and the video of everywhere, and the policeman only have the power to write for what reason you are punished, and then into the device about how many scores you will be counted, and the money you need to pay to the bank. You cannot directly pay money to the police. So in that case, a kind of a technical solution will make the policeman become more clean. Now, why not talk about why the guys would talk about the data of a company would be sometimes self-conflicted. But if all these departments, they have the one systematic, information system, and you put here and you put there, and then simply they can, prove each other. That situation will change the situation. But that's really what now happened in the many Chinese government. They are starting to connect all the report system. So if you report low and high in different departments, you will get trouble for yourself. So in that sense, because we have a more technical solution, so I perceived the data is like a closer and closer, and so that's why low and low. So in that sense, why I will not say reliable of this data, but I'm optimistic about the quality of this data. Chinese development, I think, is different with the situation in a country like New Zealand and also like European countries, and even different with like India. The government investment play a very important role to drive the economic growth. And the last year, the contribution from the government investment to the GDP growth is more than 50%, which means mainly the market is driven by government. It's not by market force. And why government was so strong way? Because government control the land, also control the quota of the bank loan, and control the main resource, economy resource. Of course, we have such a big corruption. The corruption in China is different with corruption in Russia. In Russia, you still get a chance to stop by policeman, and you cannot say what's wrong. You can say how much. And that's my personal experience. And the person will say it's like 10,000 ruby, and I say sorry, I have 1,000. And he say 5,000, and I say 2,000. I say 4,000, 3,000 deal. It's like that way. It's like 12 years ago in China. It's very hard for you in China today. You can see that situation. The big corporation in China is indirect corruption, which is mostly the public project corruption. We build the national freeway network. We build a national speed railway network. We build so many airports. We build so many subway. It's important because today in China, you can get a freeway to everywhere. I think that's the strong side compared to India. But so many public projects with such huge corruption. But people are still satisfied with that. Why? Chinese people would be very optimistic because they never expect anybody can achieve the goal with a clean way. Means realistically, you get something done, then you take the money away. Okay, for example, in Chinese rural area, the government require they called the highway to each villager. So we had a villager to each villager play the freeway. And the national criteria is a 3-meter width of the road. But finally, you get a 2.7 meters. But 2.7 meters is better than nothing, right? So people still satisfied with what they get. And the corrupt officials also satisfied with what he can. So finally we got a deal. And you can achieve, so now you drive to different countryside. It's much better in many big cities in India. And in 2000, that's my first visit to India. I heard the report from the Indian government about the Premier Vajpayee and his plan to have a national freeway building. The plan is called a diamond plan. It's to cover the whole Indian, the country territory. And that's a 4-year plan. But now, 14 years passed, the plan is still achieved. Why? Because the land is belong to the private. The private landowner, when they got this plan, everybody will negotiate with the government. They want to get more money. So it's harder for you to get things done. China, because all the land belong to government. So if they said this 4 years plan, mostly the plan will be achieved within 3 years. Of course, then you can see so many the human rights cases happened. But interestingly, there are many investors who work in the situation because it's much high efficiency of the logistic. Okay, you can before in the coast areas, the Chinese, the international investor invest money in the coast areas. Now investing in the Sichuan, in the Chongqing, in the West China. But this is the same because the freeways got so easy and the speedway is so easy. So you still can keep a high efficiency of the business. So many people will talk about the Chinese Communist Party. Communist Party is someone to have a close relation with the working class. No. Chinese Communist Party is the best friend of the capitalists. And we have a good relation with capitalists in the mainland China, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, anywhere. If you are a capitalist, you will be the best friend of the Chinese Communist Party. Of course, the social contradiction, when you look at the growth rate of economy, it is sometimes the growth rate of a social contradiction. Every year, we have a growth rate which is not published to the public about, in a different place, the conflict, especially about the land use. So it's hard. You try to figure out a way to keep the economy, grows quickly, and you need to face with a contradiction. Interesting is, although we have so many conflicts, but basically, the young people welcome the economic development, and because that's bring the quality of life which you want, and especially nowadays, would it be life value would be materialistic, and in Beijing, when the government wants to destroy the hutong, which is a traditional Chinese street, the older generation say, no, that's my home. But the young people will say, why not? I want to be in the new apartment. And now the young generation would be more dominated, the public opinion, and also would be more powerful within the family. So when we look at the data here, we'll come back. When you look at so-called, there's some data here is about social retailing. It means how many goods you set out to people. If you look at that data, we also keep a very quick growth. But last year, that's first year, a little bit of decline. Why? Because that's the first year, the Chinese president, the new president, Xi Jinping said, officials cannot eat that much. offshore cannot, drive in that good car. And you guys cannot travel to other places. You take all the first class. And then when you stay at the hotel, you cannot get a big suite room. You only can get a standard room. Okay. So as a result, the amount of retailing was declined. But that cannot really, frustrate the whole sales. The sales are still, it's declined a little bit, but it's still at a high level. Why? The young people are very strong, very strong. They are the strongest buyers of everything. Every year, we are doing a so-called index of consumer purchasing about confidence. Is that a good time for into purchasing? If you ask the parents, they will say, very hesitant to say, no. I feel it's not that good. But they still pay. They still buy. Why? For kids. Last year, 2013, is the first year the single kid generation, first time, they are more than 50% of the total population. That's important, symbolically, because the single kid the generation, of course, they are really the outcome of a family control, the policy. But it itself really changed the Chinese culture. The Chinese culture itself, traditionally, was very much pay attention to the aged population. Older people in the family with power. And they decided everything. And we respect the parents, grandparents. But now, because the single kid, biologically, they are real. And we call it, it's a phenomenon of a panda. All the real species will get more power and more resource. Which means if today we have so many pandas like piggers, and we'll eat a panda. If a pigger are so real like a panda, pigger would be, protective animals. Real animals will be protected. So the same, within the family. When we only have one kid, the culture will be changed. So that is why family will do whatever to help and please the kids. Interestingly, mostly in the consumption, which means the family, different generation will do whatever help the young generation. When you see the first video, the Chinese young people in the world are youngest population. They start to purchase the ownership of the apartment. The average level of the young people, the first time to buy the house, the household, buy the house and buy the apartment is 27 years old. But 70% of them, the first payment is paid by the parents, which means parents will help the kids realize the dream of having an apartment. And when they buy the vehicle, 35% of a vehicle was by their parents and give it to the kids. And the rest of 30% partly is paid by their parents. So you can see the young generation, they are strongest. Although many young people feel that ourselves is not really, spend that much, but consider it. The young generation, they are, the share you occupy how much of the family expenditure. Well, compared to after the post 80 the generation in the U.S., the young people in China post the 80s, they are 4 times of the more than American post 80 that occupy the family purchasing power. So that simply indicated that for the young generation, they're much strong in the purchasing power and even dominated the family needs. Many people find that in China, the older generation, the popular aging is a new trend. And the many people involved in it and doing the business. So far, nobody shows they do successful in that area. Why is that? Because for the older generation, mostly they are poor, and even their kids become rich, They're still poor because they have used it to their life hobby. And anything valuable usually is given by the grandson, granddaughter. So which means if you want to achieve successful performance in the Asian market, you need to find what the kids want to buy for their parents. If you only consider the older generation, their life was, they do whatever, try to save the money, and for their later generation. So in that sense, not only the young generation, the size is big, but also they are more influential. Except for this, and we look at what kind of consumption were more popular, and also usually occupied the more expenditure income of the consumer. The car definitely is one of the most important items. No matter what kind of a policy was taken by the municipal government of different big cities, we want to control because the traffic is so serious everywhere. Even the middle-sized city in China, in China we have more than 100 cities. The population is more than 1 million. So, which means not only in the Beijing, Shanghai, there's a first-tier city, second-tier city, even part of a third-tier city, there was a serious problem of traffic. But still, the consumer see the car is a very important symbolic items you need to buy. That shows your social status. And also, the house, apartment purchasing is also still. And if you look at the internet opinion about the complaint to the government, the housing price, the apartment price is among the top 3. So people not only want to buy it, and they want to buy it at a low price. So far, government is still struggling for trying to how to satisfy the people. The young people want to buy a house, but it's still hard to, because in China you with a limited supply of land, and but with a huge number of young people want to buy the house at such a young age. I think even in New Zealand, I don't know how many of the Holland young people at your age you want to estimate when you can have ownership of apartment. In Germany, that's about 43 years old. In the US, that's about 40 years old. In Japan, that's about 46 years old. In Brazil, that's about 43 years old. In Hong Kong, that's 49 years old. But only in China, that's about 26 and 27 years old. They want to have the ownership of apartment. So it's hard. How can you achieve that? And they satisfy people because they save the money, and for a house, they want to just graduate from the university for 5-6 years, then they want to have a house. And at the same time, they still become very active to buy the things from the internet and have the fashion items and So, of course, they are single kid within the family. The parents and 4 grandparents and 8 great-grandparents, all this older generation will help the little kids partly fulfill what do you want. In the consumption side, that's good news. And if you really catch the young people, then you catch a market. And no matter what kind of needs from the middle age and old age, actually, even before, and I still remember when I was a boy, my older sister, with a kind of the new trousers or new style of clothes, but my mother would differently would say, you cannot wear that kind of style. You have to give up. But nowadays, the mother will wear a new clothes, and the daughter will look at it and say, Mom, it looks too old. And the mom will go to the store will change the clothes. So the time has changed. and who are the key decision maker, and all the key gatekeeper, and also money sometimes at the mother's pocket, but the voice is from the kids. But whatever, China is a limited, I think, still developing countries. We are not really, everybody are rich. So you with limited wealth and limited assets and also limited money, and how can you achieve so many different the goals of consumption? You want more money. If you only from the working opportunity is not enough. So the investment becomes quite important active areas. People consider how can I let my money generate more money. The gold investment and a stock market, and now we have so many different so-called wealth management items were given by different investment bankers, the saving bankers, and now even internet finance. The internet finance is so amazing. It was given by the Alibaba and also Tencent recently. For example, if you put your money into the Alibaba's Yuan, which is a wealth management project, which is, your outcome, the benefits would be much higher than put it into the bank. And then now Tencent will develop this Li Chai Bao. It's a wealth management package, which is much stronger than the Yuan. But basically, all this new products was designed and innovated by the internet companies. So internet company has become a kind of a more attractive and a more interesting development in China. November 11 was a 4-1. So the one looks like a single people. So in China, it's innovated by Alibaba as a singles day. If you are not married, you are defined as a single. The singles day, you have a festival in November 11. So that is supposed to be a day, guys, you will buy anything from the internet to please your potential girlfriend, boyfriend, So that's a big good day for single. And all the e-commerce stores, web stores will compete for who will be the winner, who will be the champion of your segmentation, or that industry, who are the number one. That's very interesting. Last year, Alibaba itself would generate about, in the US dollar, that's about 6 billion sales one day. That's only for a single day. And now everything people will think about, internet platform would be a key platform decide who will hold the future. And this Spring Festival, there's another interesting phenomenon happened. It's called the red envelope. Envelope basically is a New Year money. So New Year money usually is older people or the leader will give it to the employees, or the older people give the young people. But this year's red envelope was developed by the WeChat. It's anybody can give anybody, and anybody can get a red envelope from anybody. And the way is that basically you will bond your debit card, because debit is substantial, how much into it, right? Credit sometimes only credit, but without money. So only debit card into the WeChat. And you said, $1,000 I will give it to 100 people. Randomly, they will develop 100 package of red envelope. So you guys will run to the circle, run to the group. You click the red envelope and you can see, okay, this is $1. And click again, you only get one chance, but other click maybe 12, other click 7. Everybody will get an envelope. And if you get an envelope, you cannot directly get the money into your pocket. You need a bond your debit card into the WeChat. So then you can put the money into your debit card. Only within 2 weeks, 120 million users and become WeChat Pay user clients. Which means later you will easily, you pay for any WeChat store, WeChat service, WeChat anything so quickly. So nowadays, Alibaba becomes so nervous because Ma Yun, the chairman of Alibaba, said, only one guy can revise my status, which comes from WeChat. Because WeChat is basically based on the cell phone, and Alibaba is based on the PC. Cell phones means anytime, anywhere, anything, he will get my customer, and a PC for the PC, and waiting people can come back to the desk and do the purchasing. The young generation, for the post-80, post-90, they are basically internet generation. They find a friend, get the information, buy the things, pay for anything via internet. So that's the new development in China. So people ask me, what kind of entrepreneurship you can do in China? It's about e-commerce and the new media. And before, that's based on the PC end. Now it's a cell phone, more than 90%. And if you haven't done any e-commerce on the PC, now you stop. You directly do cell phone based. So when I look at yesterday I look at some proposals for competition, entrepreneur competition. All these three proposals were mentioned about that. So I'm so happy that basically these guys already realized the development. And this year, 70% of a VC and angel investment, and we'll have a summit in Beijing. The summit is basically discuss and exchange about what the trends and for cell phone, for wireless entrepreneurship, and that's basically based on the cell phone. So China, before, we have a very limited penetration of a fixed phone, and in the rural and in the many small cities. Actually, we don't need to penetrate to every house and apartment for that, and we directly move to the cell phone. And so that's why we can see the business and economy develop sometimes so quickly in China, because the information revolution and this technology really helps China. Sometimes they don't need to step by step follow the experience that happened in the Western developed countries. Then you need to jump sometimes to the next stage and doing better for the new stage and not need pay for the cost for each stage. There's little stories about express delivery in China. 10 years ago, all the big heads in China, express delivery, are from US mainly. UPS, FedEx, all these guys. But 5 years ago, in China, there are so many quickly grown local express delivery. Mostly, they are deliver the item, the goods, the commodities for e-commerce. And for this, U.S. companies cannot understand, because for small items, it's only several renminbi yuan. Well, how can you use the express delivery for that? You cannot cover the cost of the express. And the Chinese company doing that. And because you never can imagine how much and how many of the young people they are using the e-commerce. So actually, when you only look at each item, yes, you cannot cover the cost of a delivery. But you think about each person buys so many different items, and each community, there are so many people buy so much, different items. So then you have the cost, and using the expressway. So that's only in China, the express delivery business, and deliver the very cheap product for the e-commerce. And there benefits from the growth of e-commerce and the express delivery that grows so quickly. And in the coming 1 or 2 years, at least 3-5 express delivery companies will be publicly listed because of the benefit from the growth of the in the e-commerce. So you can see that from this development, you're not necessary for all the rules, business rules were set up by the Western business. And you do find some new development opportunity there. And when I talk about the WeChat so far in China was 570 million users. And actually, there's a kind of a counterpart in the US is called WhatsApp. WhatsApp is much earlier than WeChat, but so far it's only about like 50 million something users. But in China, it's even developed much quicker. So there are some special opportunity in China, and not only in this, it's also like tourism. And there are several, last year there's one website that doing the tourism by internet. It's called Where You Will Go, 去哪儿, and they were publicly listed in US. But actually, there are about 5-6 similar. The website is waiting for be publicly listed, and that business is going so quickly because the tourism, the people now they can satisfy your fundamental needs. Now you're doing more traveling and they're doing more tourism. But even for this, there's someone based on the cell phone. They copy the same model but at PC end. They're doing on the cell phone. There are some companies called 非常准 or the 航班管家. They copy everything you did on the PC end. They are going even quicker than those guys at the PC end. And then because so many people are traveling out, people, you're from China, Chinese students, in the 黄金周, the Golden Week, everywhere just full of people. You never get a chance to see the view. And you can never get a chance to really have a comfortable enjoyment at the hotel. And then now the full of Chinese people that go out of China and travel to other countries. In the Europe, the duty-free, the increasing part of the duty-free sales, 80% of the duty-free sales, the increasing part was contributed by Chinese travelers. So this is also the big sales. And the real estate developers in China, when they do residency development, was highly controlled by government policy. But now they develop more tourism real estate in different places. Yuan, one of the largest commercial real estate developers, before they developed a shopping center. Now they become huge, large size of real estate, the center in the Changbaisan area and in the Chengdu area, in the different areas. So because when we look at these hotels, there's a resort were developed by Europeans. You enter into the space, and even the universities. In Chinese universities, our buildings much bigger and much newer. But here, if you enter into space, the space will be more friendly, high quality. You feel comfortable. But the Chinese university building, you enter into it, you don't feel comfortable. You just look at the whole building. The president of university was satisfied, comfortable about how much buildings I have. But not really very friendly to every users and students there. The tourism is the same. They have many buildings, and then there are many we call it 土豪, which means low quality, richer, and they develop the hotels, 5-star, run by themselves. They never run hotel before because they believe I decorated by the goat. I use it in the jar to decorate the wall, and it looks like fancy. That's high quality, which is not. because how you treat people, how you manage the whole space. But we do in a stage that people have their needs, and the supply of the service are still was short of enough quality. So, in the 1970s, in Japan, that's about the standard of the today's Chinese economy. The designer community in Japan, there is a tagline so-called redesign everything for Japanese consumers. And before that, the Japanese consumers like Chinese consumers. They go to everywhere to purchase and to travel and to take picture and noisy, you know. And they spend about 10 to 15 years. We see there's so many Japanese brand and a good service that fulfill the needs of a Japanese consumer. China stand about that the criteria about that time. We need a redesign of the service, redesign of the product, redesign of the building, and a redesign of especially inner space of the building. Of course, we need to redesign the garment. So in that sense, even for so far, it's not that quality supply of the different commodities and the service. We have a so strong consumption. If we have a provided quality, at least better and a better quality of a supplier, we'll get a better market reaction and response to that. People still with a strong intention to buy more house. 1 week ago, there's one famous developer in China called Mr. Feng Lun. This guy is quite famous because for his interesting saying of every phenomena in this industry. And he gave a very interesting talk in the Yaboli, Chinese Entrepreneurship Forum. And he said, when I talk to my people in the real estate developed community, we never figure out a way how we can lower the cost of apartment. And like 10%, 20%, 30%, you get no chance. And but when I talk to Li Jun, which is the guy is an internet community, and the guy is innovator of a brand called Xiaomi. Xiaomi, cell phone. A cell phone is basically very much like iPhone, but it's like a half price. It sells very quickly and very successfully, only by the Chinese Twitter, Weibo. He almost spent zero marketing cost. Last year, it sold out 12 million cell phone to the young generation. It became one of the most popular cell phone brand in China. And Mr. Feng Lun said, when as a real estate developer and I talked to internet business person, I got a chance how to cut the cost to half. And Li Jun, as a founder of a Xiaomi cell phone, he said, actually, I'm thinking about to do real estate development because I see so big a space there, I can figure out the way how to cut the cost of a development. I mean, here, the thoughts, the mind, the information, business model, when you have the mutual exchange, inspiration, stimulation, and from different angles, you will figure out a new way to do the business. There's one girl as a post-90, Ma Jiajia, from the China University of Communication. She talked to Yuan, the largest real estate developer in China. They said, you guys need to change your model quickly. Otherwise, you will be bankrupt very quick. Why? Because my generation will refuse to buy your apartment. Basically, we don't need to buy the ownership because we are maybe the generation, we just run rent. We don't buy it. So if you don't change your model, you get new chance to be survived in the market. So I think even for the Chinese business person, they stand in the local. But the local market changes so big. The new generation and older generation with a big gap about their consumption pattern. So if they cannot really evolve very quickly, they will lose new opportunity. There is a very interesting stories about the condom market. You guys know condom, right? There are several very sexy cases we're talking about, tell you what's the difference about the business model between the post-90, post-80, and post-70s. There are different ways to sell the condom. And the reason we're talking about Ma Jia Jia, and there's also one interesting guy doing a 大象套套. Okay, and the rest another young entrepreneurs doing the 春水堂. Okay, all these cases they only sell the sexual toys and condoms, and very quickly they only spend like 1 or 2 years, then ranking at the top 10 or top 15 sales. Why is that? Because their model is so different. For example, Ma Jia Jia, who is a new famous guys in the condom sales. She basically sell the condom on at the WeChat store, the very little small stores. The way is that if she's philosophy like if you sell condom, you say you sell condom, okay? You don't say others, and directly focus on condom, about the quality of your condom. You take everything, talk about everything about a condom. You are a condom expert. Okay, nobody in China can stand there and say, I'm the condom expert. She is the first one. So that's a different model. Because the Chinese is like, they never really talk about sex. I'm doing polling. 20 years ago, that's the first time we are involved in a global survey about ask people how many sex do you have in the past month, which is ask the couple. The man get married, legally get married, people ask people. And the people from India say 19. The people from Italy say 17. Okay, the guys from American side 13. Chinese say 3. Okay. Actually, at the same time, we do the behavior monitoring because you keep these guys, the young couple, at the hotel, and you give them condom, and then you count how many condoms they used. What the result is interesting. The Indian, actually, they used 13. They use 13, they report 19. Italian, they report 17. They use 17. The American, they report 13. They use 15. Chinese, they report 3. They use 15. Which means this is a potential market. They're never using that way. They're always hidden, And a typical post-17 Chinese, at my age, when we try to buy condom, we not say, where's the condom? We say, where's the coffee medicine? Okay, I take the coffee medicine and then take a condom and say, look, how much of it? And as a post-80 generation, they not buy the coffee medicine. They directly find the condom and say, how much for it? And for post-19, they said, where's the condom? Do you have a new condom? Specific, special, unique. Different way. And actually, we find this is an even more effective way. This sounds better than, post-80 and post-70s. So, any kinds of innovation, you will get a chance. You must be innovative. Chinese, the country, is not a very conservative country. We were very conservative for the Confucianism. So we have Confucian Institute at the Yuan University, but we cannot really give you Confucianism. We give it because we don't have it. Chinese people believe in different things, but they're not very serious. Because you ask people, you ask a Chinese Communist Party member, I'm Chinese Communist Party member, ask me, do you believe in communism? If you are from government, I say yes. If I'm not from, no. Yeah. Yes or no? Yes or no? The answer is yes or no. Depends on situation. Okay. You ask the Chinese, do you believe in anything? I said nothing. You really don't believe in anything? Yeah, I believe in destiny. I believe in luck. Okay. Sometimes I go to temple. I burn the. Yeah. But I don't know what is it. This cost is the burning this is very very cheap, right? But I say if you can let me the stock market, I will be successful. I will come back. I'll give you more. So I don't believe it first. First, if you give it to me, I will give something to you. So this is something like I get the commodity and I pay you. So that's the typical Chinese way. I say this is not bad because they will be more open. You never can imagine in Netherlands, Korea fashion would be very popular, right? You never can imagine in US, Korea fashion will be very popular. In China, Korea fashion is popular. And the French fashion will be popular. American fashion will be popular. Any fashion will be popular in China. Because we believe in nothing, but we can accept and tolerate anything. So when you understand that, all kinds of model, if you can innovate, you get a chance. If you want to find a good experimental market, that's China. And I had to talk to some Japanese young student. The Japanese student asked me, how can you tolerate the Chinese Communist Party ruling to you? Which is undemocratic, right? I say, maybe yes. But look, because that's one dialogue forum. We talk to the Japanese business leader, we're Chinese business leader. Look, all your leaders, company leaders, are 70 years old, 80 years old. Look, all our Chinese business leaders are 40 years old, 30 years old. I mean, actually, we believe in something, but we do the something very pragmatically. We depend on situation. If we meet a Japanese, we use a way to do business, deal with Japanese. And if we meet American, we deal with the situation with American in a different way. How you can imagine China as a communist country? They send 80% of high-ranking officials to be trained in the United States. The party high-ranking official was trained by American, and the high-ranking judges were trained by American. How can you do that? Because this depends on situation. American say this way could be get 30 things done. Okay, can try. So, at least I say I would not say different about anything, but it's experimental. It's a good place to do experimental and to try innovative things. And you can find opportunity. So, Europe. To some degree, Europe is idol of Chinese. We respect and we worship many brands, many products, and many countries in the US. I tell you, if you ask a Chinese, who are the best men or the men you really worship in the world? Which country? The man from which country? It's not from Netherlands, from Germany, okay. From which country? The ladies you will be most, you think the best. They're from France. Who are the next? The man from American, and the woman is from Japanese. Okay. And the people really have a good feeling to deal with the relation with the European. Why? because we are lack of quality, life quality. So when we buy more or less something, we learn something, we take something from here, then we get better. We feel the life become better. And I felt my test improved. And I opened my eyes, I knew more things. Of course, I know many Europeans don't like Chinese tourists because they are too noisy. Well, like 20 years ago, they are from the rural side. Rural side people, when they talk to each other, they must be noisy. Otherwise, you cannot hear, right? So this is, anybody, if you study anthropology, you know, this is a very natural, they're very natural human. Okay, it's not natural, it's very natural. And they come here, and sometimes they will like a ride, you know, I come here for a visit. They ride everywhere, right? But you can find somewhere saloon. You cannot say, well, if you come here ride everywhere, I don't welcome you guys. But nowadays in the world, there are two kind of people. One people ride everywhere, but they can travel to here and buy something, right? And those people don't ride, they stay at home. But how can you figure out some new service mechanism? For example, I talked to Taiwanese, I said, every place, if this is a good view, and you build, you have a big boat, and for, you know, different, the wood, and for people, please, right, come here for visit, okay. And I'll count, you are the 10,000, the number 10,000, and you are the 1 million, and I give you a word. Okay, so people like it, and only right there. So that's when I visited the chocolate factory in Switzerland. They use it that way. They do the board and write this like 到此一游. So very good. So I think consumer is a king, right? Which is business school usually tells people. But the noisy consumer is the noisy king. It's a king too. Okay. So that's the word. We need to change some of the angles to look at the market and figure out some practical, innovative way to catch the business. And of course, I say the European investors are one of the most successful investors in China. And for some reasons, because when they open the company, they have the pretty good labor work standard. So employees would like to happy working there. And the consumers really can perceive the quality of European brand and European products. But I think now also meet with a challenge. Why? Because the evolution period is not quick enough. When we look at the so-called APP and the WeChat and all this cell phone-based entrepreneurship platform, you know what? If you develop an APP and you have a company, in China there's an APP called More. Basically, it's about the strangers. It's the way I help you to you know, the stranger girls and the stranger boys, okay, which is very successful. Last month they got the B round investment. The estimate of the market value is around $1.5 billion US. But if you're doing APP entrepreneurship, the period of innovation is around 7 months. I mean, within 7 months, if you cannot get investment, you will die because you cannot survive your company. But within the 7-8 months, you get the investment, you will die because too many people will copy you. So either you will this will die or that will die. You will die always. But how can you not die? You need to innovate. You will have your new vision each 4 months. I mean, so other copies will always follow you. And they know only you are the leader. Because usually for the APP entrepreneur, only the number one will get the investment. So that's each 4 months, you need to have a substantial innovation, which is compared to e-commerce. That's around each 4.5, 1.5 a year. That's period. And before, the traditional would be 5-6 years, you have a big innovation. Typically for the vehicle, automotive, each 4 or 5 years you have a new model. But nowadays, when you have the cell phone-based business, the period is fully changed. Because that's not only about the competition, that's also about the information itself. If you always be stimulated by the so many information, your mind will change it so quickly. If you get a chance to come to visit China, the difference, big difference between the Netherlands and the Chinese, you know, the Holland people, it's not only about the color of the skin. That's also about the how to look at our cell phone. We spend most of the time always look at the cell phone. No matter their leaders, their parents, their kids, you know, always look at that. What's the difference? If you always pay attention to a cell phone, which means always stimulated by information from the cell phone. If from the morning to the evening, you got like 500 messages, which means you already changed it from a monkey to be a human. If you always keep doing that, your period is so different. So that's why the Chinese market, the people, when they perceived the period, you need to be quickly. Otherwise, you cannot catch what the market needs. Because the market always be stimulated by so many different informations. And we are so open. We don't have the very strict criteria, what kind of information we should have. Especially, I mean, not about the political, okay? I mean, for the culture, for the commercial, for the entertainment, for the, you know, fashion, we accept all these different informations. So that's why easily we look at your product or your service, that's old-fashioned. I want a new one. So I don't know if you can understand what I'm talking about. Because sometimes, even when I talk about the same topic, each times are different, because our audience are different, okay, and the examples and the data are changing so quickly. Of course, I cannot expect the government to supply me, you know, so many quality data, and fortunately, because development of the internet, the development of those independent private research and information sources. So at least we can get more information sources to understand and to sometimes improve and sometimes to develop the, you know, our vision about the business opportunity, the cultural evolution, or sometimes the political change. Thank you.